attention. Well, technical difficulties, but we're happy to say that we're here. And hopefully everybody can see clearly. We've got to get rid of some of this lighting, fool around with it. That looks pretty good. Now on my end, there is a lag in time. I think those of you that were here yesterday, did not see it on your end, but there is definitely a lag on mine. So what I have to do is try and pretend that it's real time and just paint and go about my business. And yeah. So how's everybody today? I know we can't really chat, but we're going to be working on Magical today. So again, I apologize for being a little late. Better late than never, right? So please note that the video from yesterday is on Facebook, and it's on the Lynn Andrews folk art page. It's not the regular Lynn Andrews page. I have two of them. The Lynn Andrews folk art is my business page. So all you have to do is just go there, click on videos, and yesterday's all these classes will be on there, and you have access to it. I'm going to leave them there. Everyone will have access to it. So it's not going to go away. All right, it'll be right there in my video archives. Alrighty. And yeah, I did start the prep just because it's so boring. What I did, I came in with the multi-purpose sealer, and I sanded it down with the 220 grit sandpaper, applied the multi-purpose sealer, waited for that to dry, and then it kind of lifts the grain a little bit. So I came back in with my sandpaper, sanded that, and wiped away the dust, and then I did painter's tape, lined this up, got it nice and even, did my painter's tape, and base coated the top with one layer of lamp black. Nice thick coat of lamp black. It was kind of still a weird feeling. Wasn't like a smooth finish, so I did lightly sand it, but not enough to take any paint off. And then I also did the bottom part with the Dove Gray, just like we did yesterday. So we were talking about Dove Gray. We're thinking it's discontinued. I say take slate gray and mix it with, this is slate, this is the Dove Gray. I never really do anything intentionally. I would never use a discontinued color unless I had a conversion for you. But anyway, this is a slate gray, this is Dove. I would do 2 parts slate, 1 part of snow white, snow titanium white, to get a lighter gray. Or you could just use the slate gray. So that's up to you, but that's an option, all right? And I'll try and be better about using discontinued colors. The problem is I love all the discontinued colors, and it's, old habits die hard. So anyway, so what I'm going to do now, if you notice on this piece that there's definitely, it's antiqued and sanded so that some of the paint has come off. So what I'm going to do, this is the 220. I'm going to come in, and you want to do vertical. You don't want to go side to side. You want to do, a vertical motion. And I'm grabbing some of the edges, bearing down. I don't know if you can really notice that, but bearing down and kind of antiquing it. And then down here, really leaning into it, because I definitely want to remove some of it. This happened by accident when I was prepping it, when I was getting ready to actually paint it. And I looked at it and I thought, that's really cool. I like how that looks. I'm going to leave it. So, happy accident. You don't want to go too crazy, said the woman who has no limits. Okay, so that is about as much as you need to do. going to wipe away the dust. It's very messy. In fact, what I'm going to do, this is a Silpat mat that I use. And what I like about it is that it has a little bit of grip to it, so my pieces don't slide all over the place. But I also love the fact that I can come back in and clean it with some hand sanitizer and a paper towel, and it gets all the paint off, and I look nice and neat and professional when I'm teaching. So that is that's a great little tip, and I do love them. And Amazon Prime, I think I got 2 of them for, I don't even know what I paid, but if there's something I want, I just buy it, right? Okay, so I think this looks good. I'm happy with that. Before we get going on to, get off on another tangent of mine, I'm going to come in and we're going to paint this border. Now, I had originally done it in Heritage Brick thinking that was going to look really good, and I did not like how it looked when I was done. So, I like to create colors. So what I did was, once the Heritage Brick was dry, and it was a nice opaque coat, nice, thick paint, no water. I washed burnt orange on top of it, and I got kind of a nice color. It's almost like a burnt sienna. So I'm going to do it the way I originally did it. So I'm going to come in with the Heritage Brick, and I'm going to do it nice and thick. No, I didn't do any of the sealer on it today because I forgot. That's all right, though. The only time I run into problems with the paint bleeding underneath is when I use a little bit of water with it. So this is nice, thick paint. And even with this, I will come in with my mop brush and lightly stipple it, just because I have this aversion to seeing brush strokes. So yeah. So again, Ranger Heated Craft Tool, my favorite thing ever. Amazon Prime. They vary in prices. When I first bought mine, it was $17, and then everybody and their brother ran out and were buying them, and that raised the price. Amazon does that, so I never really, it's been as much as $23, so we should wait for Amazon Prime days, right? Okay, so Heritage Brick, and then I'm going to come in with some nice burnt orange. Now this is going to be a wash. This is going to be a heavy wash, meaning there's a certain amount of water involved. And I know that looks really bright, but once I mop it, it won't be. Okay, so I'm going to just, again, this is a 1/2 inch goat hair mop, and do a light stipple. Just to kind of blend it, even it out. And give it a dry. I think it's good when you see when I make mistakes too, so that you don't beat yourself up. It happens to everybody. It's just generally you don't actually see a teacher make a mistake. I, on the other hand, own it. A lot of some really cool designs have happened because of accidents, so there's that. Right? Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've got my line drawing transferred, printed through my printer on transparency. Okay, that's nice. All right, this is still a little warm, so and I've also found with the heat gun, if you don't let things cool off, and you especially like a something like this vellum, you put it on there, it'll start to curl. So, yeah, ridiculous, I know. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy here on the pattern and my surface. I don't know if my husband cut the piece bigger or I lost something in the transition of printing it, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. I want the owl up a little bit higher, so I've got 2 pieces of tape here. That's so it doesn't shift and it stays in place. And what I'm going to be using today is, obviously because my background's black, I'm going to be using this white transfer paper. Okay, and I'm going to come in and just do my basic outlines. This is a stylus that, looking for my ruler, that the tip of it broke off years and years and years ago. It was my grandmother's, but it's perfect for me doing, I can still do stylus dots with it, but it's perfect for transferring your patterns on. Okay, it's a little end of his wing. Go. You don't have to do like every little choppy line or anything. You can do that as we paint it. So I am also a fan of templates. You can tell I use this for the moon. And I know I did something for the eyes. I don't know. We'll try that. I mean, it always starts off really nice and round, and then it ends up not being round at all, so. But it's a good start. Little beak. We don't have to do like the little feathers and whatnot, right? We don't need to do that. And then the little legs kind of wrap around the tree branch there. And then this, you want this kind of really loose. Doesn't really have a beginning or an end, right? I mean, as boring as that is, it's important to see the different aspects of painting this, right? And my least favorite part of all of it is transferring the pattern on, and now it's done, and we can move on. So how is everybody? I hope you're enjoying this and watching. And Jess, can you see comments? Please feel free to ask questions. I can't hear you, but and I also can't see this far away from my laptop. So Jesse, my son, is here. If you have any questions at all, happy to answer them. Also, honey, don't forget to send the patterns to that email I wrote down, okay? Jesse, yeah. Listening to me?
Susan, Cindy, Debbie, Judy said hello.
Hi, everybody. All right, so what we're going to do, and I really feel like this is something really important for you to see how I do it, because this is how I paint. So I'm going to be using my number 6 floater, and I'm going to come in with antique white. And what I'm going to do is get a little puddle going. I like to do that. That way I know it's consistent when I come back to grab more. Okay, so you can see that it's really, really, as much water as paint. And then I blot it once or twice on a paper towel off to the side. Then I'm going to come in. We're going to do the moon. We're going to do probably the star, the wand, the actual shape of the owl, basically everything, the owl, and also the tree branch. So now this is going to, I've got a fan blowing right on. This is going to dry. This is going to be very light and transparent to start, and that's absolutely fine. But I want to make sure, especially, I mean, there's wiggle room with the owl and everything else, but you really want to nail the circle, right? I want to make sure that's nice, and that's one thing we don't really want kind of wonky. Now, could I have gone over onto the owl's head? Yes, but think about it too, that if parts of it start to dry, do we really want overlapping onto another section? So I tend to, even though everything's going to be antique white, I tend to do it in sections. So that's a little blotchy, and that's fine because I'm going to go back and do a second layer. But, so now I'm going to do the little star. This, I might need a little more paint on that. See that? Make a mistake. That's the beauty of washes. You make a mistake, you can wipe it away. And over and over and over again, apparently. So happy Friday, everyone. Woohoo, we did it. We made it through the week. We should say a little prayer for our friends in Florida, right now in Georgia. Okay, now I'm going to start in on the owl's body. This is the first layer. We'll be doing probably a second one. Not probably, most definitely. Please let me know if you're seeing a lag in time, and because yesterday I've got that lag here, but I'm just pretending that I'm in real time, and you can see, and there's no lag. We tried with a different camera a little while ago, and that just didn't work, so we're back to my phone. And that seems to be okay, other than on my end, the lag in time. But again, I guess you learn as you go, right? So you always kind of grab the edges so that they blend in, even though it's not perfect or anything. If it's better to do that and then have it dry a little blotchy where you can go back in with another layer and even it out, than to have like a really hard line, hard edge, right? We don't want that. Okay, and then his little legs are kind of pointing to the right. I'm not going to worry about his little feet right now, but there is a branch right here that his feet, his little claws are grabbing. So I'm going to come right up where the feet would go. Now this branch just kind of blends into the black. It just doesn't have a beginning or end. It just kind of stops. I take my finger and drag it across. Same thing. I don't know why. I tend to get a smaller, finer point starting on the end and working my way back in. I mean, everybody's different, but that, I don't know, that seems to work for me. This can be sketchy and messy because it is, right? That's that's what it's going to look like. So we don't really need, a beginning or an end. There's a branch there, and then this one. Oh, that's kind of heavy. This one kind of comes off. Maybe make a few little branches jut out. Not going to get too crazy right now. We'll do more detail later on. Okay, dry it, and then I'm probably going to do another light layer of the antique white. It depends. If yours is a little darker than mine, then you're probably in a good place. I have to let that cool off. I will take a little sip. Jess, are they saying anything about a delay?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, so you must have thought I was out of my mind yesterday. I was so worried that you were seeing the delay, but it was really on my end. I wish I had known that. But hey. So see the difference another second light layer makes? I'm more kind of floating a little darker, not overly dark, but a little more paint than I did in the beginning, and started on the top and kind of walked it in towards the owl. And by doing that, it's going to be lighter, more paint at the top of the moon, and then as you come down towards the owl, you know, you're relying more on the water. You know, I'm mopping with a brush that has orange on it, so that's why my owl and moon might look a little orange. Okay, so now my star is fine, so I'm going to leave that. And that's going to be painted metallic gold, so we don't have to worry about the star. But see, just like the difference that second layer makes, for me, it definitely is all about layers. And when I'm doing this, I honestly feel like I'm sketching. I really do. Sketching with a brush, right? Filling it in, pushing that wash around. After a while, you really don't even think about the paint water ratio. It just becomes instinctual. You know what I need? I need a bigger stash brush. My favorite 5/8 Jack Richardson Dome Sash. Okay. I think the branch is fine. Oh, you know what I didn't do? The wand. It goes right through his little wing. The tip of his wing is holding it. How cute is that? Okay. Is Barbara there? Barbara K? She's the one that doesn't have the patterns.
No, I don't see her. I don't have her email address.
Oh, it's puppy_love_ in numbers.
Yeah.
I've got it over by the computer.
At Gmail, at Yahoo, at...
No.
I don't... It's not right now, so I don't know. I can't email her.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe we got she didn't give us the full. Anyway, Barbara Krajcik, if you're there, email me your email because we don't have the complete email, and we'll send you the patterns. Okay. Or puppy love. Okay. So that's about where we want to be. You can still see a little bit of the black through there, and that's okay because it's going to make it look kind of antique-y anyway. So now what I need to do is go back and reestablish my eyes. I mean, I can see them, but no, I'm kidding. I can't see them. Who am I trying to kid? Okay, the beak is here. Right, and we want the eyes kind of touching, just barely touching. Oh my gosh, preferably not one higher than the other one. Oh my goodness gracious. Andres, what are you doing? Right. So now what we're going to do, that's a little better. Now we're going to come in with the eyes and do only the eyes, a third layer on there. And this is kind of important that they're the same size. Also, reestablish the little beak that's between the eyes. So, I really love this one. I do have a favorite. I like them all, but there's one that I love above and beyond, and it's not this one, although this would be my second favorite. my favorite is, you could probably guess, this one, Bewitched. I think it's hilarious. I just think it's so funny, this cat sitting on top of a pumpkin. Anyway. Jesse, when am I teaching that? Tomorrow or Sunday? It's pretty bad that I don't know.
Is that Bewitched?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow I'm teaching the kitty. Enchanted is the little haunted house. I'll be teaching that on Sunday. And again, if you can't make it, I mean, you know, it is going to be the weekend and you have families. I understand completely. I'm just doing this one again because it's a little blotchy. Alrighty. So, we're going to go in and we're going to wash buttermilk on the moon. And what we're going to do is, so we've got a huge brush here. I don't know. I'll just use it. So, buttermilk. Work it into my large brush. This is an 8. So you can see, you know, I've got most of the paint. It's darker at the tip. And then my mix of water paint. And then the remainder is just water down here. So I'm going to come in on the tip and float right up against the edge. Got that tip right on there. Trying to very, very much so keep, I need a little more water. That nice shape of the moon, nice and round. And then with the tip, I'm kind of filling that in. So it's brighter at the top. And then as we go down now, we're pulling from the water. Really light touch. Like sketching, right? Then we're going to come in with, I'm going to get a clean mop. How about that? Come in up this way and start up by the head and just lightly mop that. Okay, it started to dry. It's really blotchy, but that's all right. I'm going to turn my fan on to cool this off a little bit. I'm going to go off camera for a minute. Cool that right down. It's very, like Indian summer here today. It's been coolish in Rhode Island, but today it's humid and kind of gross. Although sunny. Alright, so. Then I pick up a little bit more water, keeping in mind that I want the top part a little lighter and up by the head a little more shaded. So that's where I'm going to mop it. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's, you know, neither here nor there. I'll show you the original. So it's just, and we're going to be shading and everything up by the owl's head. Oops. Oops. Hurry. So, the directions say to dry brush the clouds now, but I really think it's more logical if we do our little bit of anti-gold wash on the moon. And that's going to be right kind of in the upper kind of quadrant up here on the moon. So we're going to take a little bit of that anti-gold, which is a very strong color, so you really want it watered down. Okay, and then just come up here and Wash that on. And then mop the edges so that it's not really, we don't have any hard edges, all right? And once you get it on there, if you feel like you didn't get enough paint, you can always go back and pick up a little bit more. I would rather you went on the lighter side and then go back and pick up more gold after it dries than to come in too dark. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. You know when you know you shouldn't do something and you do it anyway. Yeah. Okay. So now we can do our clouds and we can have them overlap or just kind of be in the background. All right, so I'm gonna hold this right next to it. I don't think we can fit them both in the picture, but anyway. These are super, super soft. It's gonna be dry brushed. And I'm going to be using the number 4 stippler to do it. And what I like to do is kind of take my stippler, this is awful, but I kind of push it down and spread it out so that I get fuzzier clouds or whatever, fur or whatever I'm trying to do. So we're gonna come in with your Snow Titanium White. And I'm just going to kind of work it in really good. And then a paper towel and wipe the excess off. So it's a true dry brush. Test it out. Again, even with that, I'm heavy-handed. Okay, so where we have it, over here, there's a little cloud behind the wand. What I'm going to do is a light stipple till I get a feel for how much paint I actually have on here. And then super light touch, start to kind of go all over the place with the dry brush. Drag it. Then there's another one right about here. You should really have to work at it. And then I think I've got a little one. We could do a cute one up here, a little subtle. Just picked up more paint and I didn't wipe enough off. What you're trying to avoid are little blobs of color, right? You want it all like really smooth and soft looking. I think you all pretty much know how to dry brush, probably, thinking, unless you're new to painting. You get a little heavy there. A little trick you can use. So this is a little darker than I would have liked. Dry it really good. You can come in with a wash of lamp black over it to dull it down a little bit. Really just very sheer, not a lot of paint on there. But it's enough to kind of tone it down a little bit. Cool, right? And then what we're going to do is take a little more lamp black and we're going to float it around the outside edge of the moon. So if you have any of the overlapping clouds, it looks like they're kind of tucked in behind the moon. So, and again, this isn't a real dark float. It's soft. So there's not a lot of black on it, but it'll be enough to, dang it, there'll be enough to make it look like it's in the forefront and the clouds are behind it. Okay?
It needs to be a little off screen.
What, honey?
It needs to be a little off screen.
Okay. Is that better? See, I still have that lag, so I'm not sure. How about that? That should be good. Right there. You know what? I'm gonna tape myself so that I don't do that again. Alrighty. We good? Any questions? So, as far as the actual owl, so the eyes are going to remain antique white, but what we're going to do is come in with a little bit of burnt umber. And we're going to come in around the above the two eyes here with a little bit of burnt umber wash, a little bit of a burnt umber float underneath the eyes, and we're just going to start playing with a little bit of color, burnt umber. So what I did, this is the number 6. I wet the brush, blotted it, and then I'm just coming in very tiny amount and kind of mixing it here and there. I'm going to come in and just with the tip of the brush softly outline the top without it looking outlined, if that makes any sense. So if you have enough water on your brush, you'll be fine. I'm going to come in underneath the eyes with that burnt umber. Now this is still really, really light. It's not even that dark. We're just starting to kind of set some colors in place. Just defining the edge of the head here. It's going to be much more shaded over here on the wing part. So I'm going to come in with just burnt umber and that back section and not the tip of the wing, holding it wrapped around in front. Make it get a little heavier right around here. Use my finger and play with it, right? And then one more place. I will go back and play with the different colors, but the wing is right here. So just define that a little bit. And then just drag that burnt umber down a little bit and walk it on over, mop it. And that's what I do. I just go back and I'll pick up another color and keep playing with it. But for now, I think what we're going to do is jump on over to the eyes and get those done. This is better, right? You can, I'm centered. Okay. Antique white eyes. Continue with the burnt umber, yada, yada, yada wash. We'll chuck it. All right. Let's follow the directions. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the burnt umber. We're going to come back in with milk chocolate now on top. Same area. It softens it up a little bit. We can extend that down a little bit on the wing. Can add it slightly more towards the breast area. And I did fill in the top of the head with the milk chocolate. And again, this is a really light wash. if you've distorted the shape of the eye, if it's not completely round, you're going to want to go back and kind of play with that a little bit. Okay, so back to my template, my circle template. There are two little eyes in the center that are black, and those are, I tried to get those as round as I possibly could, which is why I ended up using a template. I'm not really known for precision, but so that's way too big. That's got to be that little one on the end. Holy mackerel. So I'm going to give myself a little center dot. I'm sure you've all got stencils and templates and all that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to switch to my tiny brush, my number 2, and we're just going to fill in those two little circles with lamp black, and that's going to be nice and opaque. Now, I'm not going to kid you, I do have a tiny bit of water on my brush, otherwise I'd be fighting with that, and this is not the place to have to struggle. Okay. Give it a dry. So inside each black circle, I did over to the right, I did a little dot of, I'm not sure, I mean, it's either buttermilk or white, a little dot, and then a kind of a little C stroke, and a dot on the right on the other eye, and a C stroke. So I'm gonna do white. Why not? Okay, so little dot on the right, and then little C stroke, little dot, little C stroke. Jesse, can they see that? Is this in close enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Cute. Okay, so this is where it starts to get ridiculous. This is who I am. So I'm gonna come in with a little bit of the milk chocolate, a little bit of water, a little milk chocolate. We don't want this really dark, so I'm going to, be generous with the water. But that being said, I'm also gonna come in and blot it so that it's not transparent. So we're going to come do another circle around the black, but you're going to try and leave, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little tiny space between the black and the milk chocolate band. Okay, so that's what we're going to go for. And all I do, I come in with the tip of my brush, and I'm just kind of tapping it for now to give myself a little outline, little border, margin. I don't know if you can even see it. It's really light. I didn't mean for it to be quite that light, but whatever. Whatever. Okay. Now, pick up a little more paint. And honestly, what I'm going to do is just pull little lines onto that line, while also trying to leave a little bit of an antique white border. I'm so sorry. Don't hate me. I live for this stuff. But look how cute that is, right? So teeny tiny little strokes. Pull them out. You could come back in and make them a little darker if you want. You can always come in and do a little antique white around the black if you got a little crazy. Or maybe it looks good, you know, whatever, right? No, I love detail. Okay, you're doing great. I'm your biggest cheerleader. Okay, so now, before we start getting too crazy on the eyes, we're going to come back. We're going to pick up a little bit of burnt umber, and you're going to have just like a speck of black mixed in with that. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And then we're going to come in under the eye and just darken that a little bit. Same thing. Tap that in. You can do that. Tap that in around the top of the eye. You can even kind of go between the eyes if you've got enough room there. Just going to make them pop out a little bit more. I still have a little bit of black on my brush, so I'm going to come in underneath, well, black burnt umber mix. I'm going to come in a little bit under the wing and darken that. This is how I paint. I just kind of go back and forth, and, you know, depending on what I've got on my brush, that might look good. How about if we come in and darken that little wing over on the right there? It's getting there. More layers though. I'm liking the darkness under the eyes. I'm going to come in. I think I'm going to make mine a little bit darker. And I'll tell you why. Because the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pull little antique white strokes out against the darker edge. You see that? I don't know if you can see it, but that's what I did. Before we do that, let's fill in the beak with antique gold. Little tiny diamond. So when that beak is dry, you need to come in on either side of it under the eyes and darken that. First of all, so you even notice that it's there. But just to also darken that edge. See, I'm just kind of tapping that in. Okay. So remember, if you want to, you know, see, the video is going to be there for you whenever you want it. But you need to go to the business page, Lynn Andrews Folk Art, the one where I have dark brown hair and not gray, and under videos, and it'll be right there. And there'll be other ones as well. So, and you have access to it forever. And that's for everyone. That's not necessarily for people that have bought the collection. So, all right. Okay, so what I was saying about the little antique white lines coming out from the edge of the eyes, overlapping. Tiny, tiny little lines. Number 2, floater. I'm going to pull And you don't want them really really long. You just want to kind of soften that edge a little bit. Sometimes I start from the outside and pull in. Sometimes from the inside and I pull out. It depends, I guess, the angle and what I'm trying to accomplish. Whatever's easier. Ugh, how cute is that? Okay, and then there are oh jeez, this never ends. There are little tiny marks that I made. I actually used my tech pen, which is naughty of me, but I did. You can do that with, I would say, probably burnt umber. So I'm not going to use my pen because that's not fair to you. But right on the milk chocolate little circle that we did, I did kind of tap in some of the darker spots on there. You absolutely love the way your eyes look right now, then you don't even need to do this. It's not going to make or break the design. In fact, mine aren't even showing up, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, and on the nose, we're going to do 2 little black nostrils. Okay. And now all we really have to do is add a little bit more color to his body and some little faux feathers. This is what I do. I play around and I keep adding layers. By the time I'm done, I have no idea how many layers I've done. So I just came back with a little bit of more antique gold wash on the moon. Does it matter? No. Use your judgment, right? Get a little weird here between his legs. Kind of thick little legs there. Okay, I'm glad I'm staying where I should be. I seem to be right under the camera. Okay, guys, so now the fun stuff. I'm going to come in with a little burnt umber. And we're going to do some color on top of the branch. This is very transparent. But see how it just kind of blends into nothing? It's like no beginning or end for the end of that branch. That's what we want. So I'm just dragging some burnt umber on there. Same thing with the wand. We're going to do just a little wash. You don't really even need to get it everywhere because we're going to come back in with milk chocolate also. I'm going to do the same thing, dry it well. We're going to do the same thing with milk chocolate. We're going to come back in certain areas and just add it. Even if there's a little bit of the antique white popping through underneath, that's absolutely fine. So the same thing on the branch down here. Doesn't need to be everywhere. In fact, you can even leave some of that antique white on there. So, yeah, it's really loose and fun. Any comments? Any questions, guys?
Dorothy asked about the is that where Bright and Beautiful is located too? I went to the URL given on the first page and it said the video is no longer available.
Bright and Beautiful is did we not put that on videos on Facebook? Oh, we did.
Facebook Live?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, we didn't do Bright and Beautiful. That's
Oh yeah, right.
a video on YouTube.
Right.
I don't know what Dorothy needs.
So yeah, so that if you are looking for that video, it's on YouTube, Bright and Beautiful. Or do they only have access to that if they paid for it? Is that how that worked?
Bright and Beautiful video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you bought that video, which is basically $10, and you get access to the video like forever, and also the comprehensive directions, which took forever to do, but yeah, so that's on YouTube. I also have other videos on YouTube as well, so it's kind of hard keeping track of everything now.
All of these Facebook Lives will be on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, they will. Jesse just said all the Facebook Lives will also go on YouTube. Trust the man, right? Okay, so now, before we get too far on the owl's body, we're going to come in with a little burnt umber, and we're going to float on the outside of his body up against the moon here. We need that to be shaded. So I went one step further and picked up a little bit of black. I know you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it really makes, and it's just like a speck of black, really makes a big difference. But again, I know not everybody loves black as much as I do. Okay. It's subtle, but I feel like it makes a big difference. Also, a little bit of that black under the wing. Stay with me, don't freak out. Kind of walk it out, use your finger, blend it, and look how fantastic that is. Little pop of color. Okay, so now, burnt umber, milk chocolate, and then we're going to come in with white or antique white feathers on his body. So the wing right here that I've been avoiding, I'm going to do that in a little milk chocolate, so it's a slightly different color. You can come up with a little burnt umber, but we need that to look like it's kind of wrapped around the wand, right? We're going to take a little bit of the black and we're going to shade right up by where the wing is, holding it, and then a little bit down below. That gives it like dimension, right? Then the colors, like I said, are, let's come in with some burnt umber. I'm still using my number 6. Honestly, the point of the 6 and the 2 and the 10 are the same size. The only difference is the amount of water or wash it holds, right? So if you're doing something where you need a lot, like doing line work or something, or you're doing a large area, you obviously want a little bit bigger brush. You just use the appropriate size brush for what you're trying to get done. So for the little feathers, I could use the 6 or the 2. So because I grabbed the 2, I am going to come in. This is loaded with burnt umber now, and I like, for me, my comfort level is to start and pull up. So I'm going to do some little feathers, tap those in here and there. Don't go too crazy, right? I mean, we can always go back and add more. So I stay with the darker colors in the areas that are a little more shaded. And notice that the bottom part is like still pretty much the antique white we did in the beginning. So, and that will be part of it. All right, so that's the burnt umber. Then I'm going to come in now with some milk chocolate. And these you can start to kind of pull off onto the background. Start making them a little choppier. Tap in little ones. Just kind of patting them on, really. Okay, that's milk chocolate. So we've done bread umber, we've done milk chocolate. I don't really think I did black. Excuse me. I'm gonna come in with some white, or you could use buttermilk. White's strong, so make sure you you water it down really well. So right on the tip of the wing, gonna pull those little lines in. So instead of, I'm so lazy, instead of mopping, I just take my finger and wipe them. And these are where you can kind of have some poking out, you know, against the background. You have that nice dark edge. Let's take advantage of it, right? Have some overhanging against that black shading. Down here, get a little more water. As soon as I have any kind of resistance, I'm all about grabbing a little more water on there. So the tail is fairly highlighted, but we can't just, you know, have a sharp line. We have to drag a little bit of that white up. So also where I really have a good amount of white is on the chest area here, and having it kind of pull out against the edge a little bit. I feel like it works better once you have the majority of the paint off of your brush, and it gets a little softer. And okay, and I also did a little bit on the tip of the wing here that's holding the wand. Okay, assessing, thinking, I'm going to come in with antique white and reestablish my little legs. Kind of wrap around those little, you know, the little claws. We have owls here in our field. So that, trying to think what else. Oh, up by the head here. So use your judgment if it's really light or dark. If it's dark, then use lighter colors to imply those little feathers. It's really fun, and it's kind of hard to know when to stop. So I'm going to give this a quick dry, and then the last thing I did after all that work, I came in with some milk chocolate and just kind of dragged it on there. And what it's going to do is tone it down. You're still going to see your little highlighted areas, but it warms it up and kind of gives him a little more warmth, right? A little more definition. Holy mackerel, I think we're almost done. All right, so the wand. I think I'm going to use buttermilk for a highlight on the wand. Little line. Don't let any paint go to waste. It's really bad. I really don't know when to stop. Okay, so clouds, moon, owl, tree. Need to work on our star. Goodness gracious. You guys are doing great. So what I did, I have Glorious Dazzling Metallic. Glorious Gold is my favorite gold. I think a lot of people know that, but I love it. It's nice and thick and rich. And I've got some on my palette, and what I'm going to do is come in and paint the star with that. Star has gotten significantly bigger.
Tell Dorothy I emailed her pattern.
Huh?
Tell Dorothy that I emailed her pattern.
Okay, Dorothy, Jesse emailed you your pattern. All right. So on here, right around the star, once your star is dry, you're going to dry brush that metallic gold around there to make it glow a little bit. You could put some on the moon. I did not. I felt like it would, I don't know, maybe make it look a little dirty. But you could if you wanted to. Just make sure that's completely dry. The number 4 stippler is a good size. Okay, so I'm going to, again, I'm a fan of like pressing down on it. These brushes take a lot of abuse, trust me, they do. Metallic gold. Working in really good. And then I'm off camera here, but I'm wiping the excess off on a paper towel. And then very lightly, because I don't really know how much paint I've got on there, I am just going around and around and getting a little bit bigger. Soft glow. It's really fun. I want to keep going, but I'm not going to. I'm hoping you can see that. I hope it shows up really well. So, this part's done. Woohoo! And we don't really need to do anything to this other than write our magical on there. So down below, I'm going to hold this sideways. I'm going to come in with, I didn't go too crazy with a lot of detail down here. Right across, and you can actually, it doesn't matter because you can go right over your colored strip here. I am floating milk chocolate, and that's only going to be across the top here. Way too much water on my brush. To the point where I kind of lifted most of it. I'm going to have to dry it and do it one more time. It's subtle. And then I just did black polka dots. If you've got a little stencil, that would be fun. I think, looks to me, judging by how imperfect they are, I'm pretty sure I freehand it, but you know, when I stencil, it's more of a pain for me than if I just tried to go for it, which I'm going to do. Put a little bit of water on here. I'm just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. I always come in with the Dove Gray and make them a little more perfect. Yeah, I guess you were saying yesterday that the Dove Gray's discontinued. It's shocking that I would choose a color that's discontinued. You know where you could look is Pinecraft told me last year at Net that he bought up, I'm sure, Dove Gray is an older color, but he said that he bought up a lot of DecoArt's discontinued paint. So I know for a fact they've got Blue Mist. I know they have Yellow Ochre. I can't think about the other colors, but yeah. So, what's left? Magical? I said yesterday, if you are new to today, that get a little milk chocolate on my border here, that it's easier for you if you use your own handwriting than to try and copy mine. You are welcome to it, but do you really want to take the time to have to transfer my lettering on there? Or just use a white Jelly Roll pen under $2 at Michael's and just write magical? So what I do is I just kind of look where it is in relation to, the piece, and I just go for it. Make sure my pen's working. This is a 08, which is, it's small enough, but it's not as small as the 05, which I have a hard time getting to work. So I like the 08. It's works good for me. So I am just going to write. Magical. And we're done. So I know I'm hyping the Spectrafix, but honestly, I would never sell a product that I didn't 100% love, and I sell it. So you can also get it on Amazon Prime. You can get it at Dick Blick. I'm sure there are other places, but so this is a pump spray. So this retails for $17. If you buy, you can buy them in an aerosol bottle, but they're, quite a bit more money. So I just bought a couple of aerosol bottles from Amazon, and then I dump this into this. So that way I can keep, replacing it. So you just shake it. It's a Final Fix. It's beeswax, it's carnauba wax, it's alcohol, and it's water. So it's non-toxic. You can put it on. I've done it on fabric. I've done it on paper. I've done it on wood. I've done it on pretty much every kind of surface, and it is remarkable. And I heat set it, and then I do 2 to 3 light layers for the final layer. They also have a layering one, which is good if you're doing color pencil or something like that. Or in my case, like using, the pens. Now look, the Magical, the white Jelly Roll pen, it didn't bleed. So that's good. I will say, I have found that the only thing that bleeds, that I've found to date anyway, is any kind of red marker or India ink. Yet if you get heavy-handed like I am, you can take the paper towel and kind of blot it up a little bit, or use your finger and wipe it away. It's that easy to use. Yeah, so it's available out there. Spectrafix Final Fixative. non-toxic. You can sit here where you paint and spray away, and yeah. I'll do at least one more layer on here. And with the heat gun, goes really fast. So tomorrow is Bewitched. So if you want to join me, I would love to see you. Fun little piece. If you have any questions, ask now. I'm glad there was no lag on your end. I just pretended like we were painting and there was no lag here, which there was, but such as technology. So I don't know, you probably can't see what a really nice, soft sheen it leaves. It's really, yeah, it's really great. I love it. But anyway, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. And I've loved painting for you and having you here. So look forward to tomorrow. And if not, the video will be available as soon as I teach it. All right? Or not teach, but, you know, demonstrate. All right, everybody? Thank you so much. You know I love you. Bye.
Nice job.
Thanks. I tried. It's easy when you kind of love what you do.